Hey, welcome everybody. It's Sunday morning here, at least in where I live, where I'm from in Madrid. Sunday morning, and it's really a pleasure to be here live with all of you that are watching us now on this lazy Sunday morning. At least in my part of the world, it's a sunny day today. And we are in the eve of FacWeek, something that's going to happen next week, and I will be talking about this later on. So for the ones who do not know me, I'm Paul Nunes Dia. I'm currently holding the position of the IAF Director of Conferences and Global Events. So that is why I'm dedicating a little bit of my time to have here with me a very, very special guest that I will be introducing in a few minutes. I'm also the author of the book series Architecting Collaboration, and this is what pays my salary, of course, not my association work. And definitely, I'm really, really interested in presenting you what's going to happen in the next upcoming week, FacWeek 19-26 October, and we are going to talk about that in a few minutes. So without further ado, and with me today, I have the pleasure to introduce you Eugenio Molini. Eugenio is a person that has been a source of inspiration, even without, he probably don't know, but a source of inspiration of all my book series from the first book. Eugenio is the author of a very interesting book. I hope that we have time to talk about it. It's unfortunately just in Spanish. So as you know, my native language is Portuguese and also Spanish, not English. So I was lucky to read Eugenio's book, and I think it's a masterpiece. It really opened my mind in a way to understand that we are not in the business of group facilitation, actually. We are not in that business. We are in a different kind of businesses, and I hope that in the end of this conversation, you will all discover that. But without further ado, Eugenio Molini, it's really, really a pleasure to have you here, my friend, because sometimes we have interesting conversations on LinkedIn. Also, Eugenio, every Sunday morning, he has a wonderful video he shares with all of us. And that's also the reason why I thought about this Sunday brunch in order to, hey, why not having Eugenio live today with all of us? And well, without further ado, Eugenio, the floor is yours. Maybe I would prefer that you would introduce yourself, because I don't want to jeopardize the beautiful brand image without even know you have a brand image, and I don't want to jeopardize that brand image. And please, if you be so kind to introduce yourself and tell me a little bit where are you grounded right now?
Well, that question is not so simple. If you mean where I am physically, I am in Stockholm, and this is not a sunny day. It's been the first night below zero, or it will be tonight. No? So we have a different weather than in Madrid. But if you really want to know where I am grounded in my belief that there is something bigger than me that holds me no matter what happens around, and that I don't need to be good or be productive or be anything in order to be accepted and to be loved, and the other way around. When I am loved, then I am good, and then I am productive, and I am accepted. And that's what grounds me, that belief.
That's interesting. So in your case, Eugenio, the fact that you are in Stockholm could be exactly the same impact on your practice as if you were in other city in the world. Why are you in Stockholm?
Well, I am here because my son and my grandchildren are here, and because I have lived here most of my life. No? I came here when I was 20 and lived here, nearly 40 years. No, except for some parentheses that I moved back to Spain for some years. I have been here 40 years, and that's why I am here. No, But for my work, it doesn't matter where I am. I have been traveling for 250 days a year since 2010 or something like that, no, 2010 or even earlier. So it doesn't matter where I live. Of course, now I haven't been in the same place as long as since now with the pandemics. I have been here since March, and I have never been so much time in the same place in the last 20 years.
That's interesting, because probably that has an impact in your practice on being in such a physical place, so many months in a row without traveling. Has this impacted the way you work?
Very much. No, the way I see it is my consulting business is nearly. Well, I am not doing any consulting the way I see consulting, but I am doing a lot of training and workshops. No, but of course, not everybody means the same when they say consulting. Many people believe that they are consulting when they are doing in-house training, and that's not the same thing. So training, I'm doing a lot of training and workshops and so on, but consulting, very little.
And tell me a little bit about the consulting practice, because Eugenio, you are in front of Angela Merkel, right? Angela Merkel asks you, hey, Eugenio, pleased to meet you. What is it that you do? What will be your response?
I am very bad at doing an elevator pitch. I have never succeeded in doing that. But what I do is, okay, if you, I would say to Angela, if you want to implement or to promote a specific change in the society you are leading, or the state you are leading, it's not the same thing to lead a society than to lead a state, no? It's two different kinds of organisms or organizations. Well, anywhere you want to promote a change, so I help you to, one, think about what's the best strategy about how to promote it, no, depending on what the kind of system it is. And the second thing is to help you design that change process. And the third thing, if you want me to facilitate some meetings or some parts of the process, I can do that too.
That's amazing, Eugenio. You know what? Because when I find the inspiration from my book thesis title, Architecting Collaboration, I always consider that you are more like an architect of collaboration rather than a group facilitator, which you probably do not consider yourself a group facilitator, right? And then you already told us about why a group facilitator is not necessarily a change agent. Can you talk a little bit more about this? Are you an architect of collaboration? Are you a change agent? And sorry for this so dirty question, right?
Well, I see myself as a change agent, and I understand a change agent as somebody that is possessed by some inner motivation to promote change for a better world or for a better organization or better system. And as a promoter of change, no, I have chosen not to specialize myself in any content of the change, but only in the how. No, so I don't like calling myself an architect, but I'm more a designer. Well, I could accept being called as an architect, no? But I see myself as something promoter of how to change the way of changing. No? And facilitation, that many people call themselves as facilitators, that's only one of the skills you need if you want to if you want to promote change, no?
Definitely.
Well, there's another thing, and you can be a facilitator without compromise, without having any direction in which you promote the change, no? You can be neutral or more or less neutral to the content of the change.
So that's a good, interesting observation, and it's the right break opportunity now to bring Jeffer London into this conversation. Hi, Jeffer.
Hello, Paul.
I think you have a little bit of a background noise. I'm not sure. Maybe you have to put some wearables, unfortunately.
Okay, all right.
We hear a lot of noise.
Turn me off. I'll come back in a second.
Okay, that's fine. Because that will be the most interesting aspect of the conversation to hear about the opinions of a group facilitator in terms of being neutral towards the direction of change. But can we really be neutral towards directions of change?
That's not what I said, Paul. What I mean is that you can be neutral towards the content of the change, but not towards the how. Because if you as a facilitator are neutral towards the how, you need to have some kind of passion for something that is about the how and what effects will the how have in the organization or the system you are promoting change. You can be neutral, maybe you can be neutral towards content, but you as a facilitator, you can never be neutral about the how, because that's the value you add.
And so that's so interesting, Eugenio, and it's an interesting perspective I never thought about before, because obviously you can be you are never neutral towards the hour, right? Because that's the value you bring, and that's the process you want to negotiate with your customer in order to deliver the value you think it will be desired. Yeah, definitely.
The thing is, we all facilitators or change agents, we are all neurotic, so we have also some preferences. Some of us have a how that is more tilted towards, for example, about belonging, inclusivity, relationships, and so on. Others maybe have another preference towards purpose, higher meaning, strategic directions, and so on. No? And for other people, for other facilitators, it can be, or change agents, they can be tilted more towards safety, equality, things like that. No, so, but we can never be neutral. If you are neutral, you don't add any value.
That's awesome. Let me bring now Jeffer on board. I think Jeffer.
Yeah. Hello. Good morning.
I think you're still with a lot of background noise, my friend. I don't know if you can solve that. It's like a train passing by.
Okay, I think it's the fan on the computer.
Okay. Like that.
All right. Well, I can try something else if you want to keep going with Eugenio.
No, go ahead.
No, I think, I mean, Eugenio, we go back quite some time, right? I think Berlin Change Days, at least 5 more years ago. And I think it's a hard question. Like, we are all biased, right? I mean, there is something inside us that, we might lead a group towards more safety or more inclusion or more direction or more speed. Facilitator is always taking these decisions on the spot of what the group needs. But when we take a decision, there is subjection in there. I mean, we can, we have to be very careful not to manipulate the group. I mean, we are there for a purpose on behalf of the group, but because of our own personal histories, we have certain patterns of behaviors ourselves, and we might think that others should have the same patterns too, and it's not necessarily the case. So I think it's, when I'm on the other side of the equation, when I'm hiring a facilitator, I'm looking for that too. I want to know what kind of person that they are, so that we make sure that they actually do what's necessary for the group, for the organization, because they will have their own biases. I'm thinking about a session where I was in the participation side and someone else was facilitating, and how frustrated I was watching the facilitator, because I felt like they were doing what they thought they needed to happen, but I didn't feel it was what we needed as a group. So,
and that's also a bias.
Of course.
In itself, no? You see, if you, I don't like to think like that, but that's the way many people think about branding yourself and so on. No, and you can try to brand yourself as something that is neutral. Somebody, I work to allow the needs and wants of the group to emerge and so on. That's one way, no? And then you put yourself in a completely fertile void position, or a completely neutral position to whatever happens and so on, no? I, for many years ago, decided I am not neutral to anything. And my brand, if I have any, is to be myself. This I believe, this I don't believe. This I do, this I don't do. I am not neutral to many things. And that's the way I promote my services. If you want this, come to me. If you don't want this, please don't bother.
Yeah. Exactly. It's interesting. Of course, for the International Association of Facilitators, we have an official position on this, and it is that the facilitator is neutral, right? That is what we're signing up for. I have trouble with it, also because I know that I will do things that, what I think is right on the spot, and I think that's why people hire me for that kind of job. But we are actually reviewing right now our entire kind of code of ethics, and there are a lot of issues that have come up just this past 6 months because of the technology and all this. There's so many more decisions that we have to take, and those things reflect our our desires to have more creativity in the room, more analysis, more reflection time. Those are personal choices, really. We try to do it on behalf of the group. Yeah.
But do you think that there is a difference in neutrality to the content of the change, neutrality to the how?
Yeah, I think there is, and there's, when I'm live with the group, I will try to sometimes step in and step out of the role if I have a skin in the game, if I have some wishes. I think there are. I mean, I don't totally agree with you that we are always should appear totally committed to the how, because I think there are multiple ways to get a job done. So sometimes I will tell a group, say in the group, okay, I notice we're struggling with this piece, and I can see at least 2 options. We could do this or we could do that, and let the group decide.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting point. If the group decides, are we sure that the group, the participants in the group, are going to be the ones that are required to make the right decision? And that's the question I ask for Eugenio, because this is asking a little bit more to do with architecting collaboration. Who should be in the group, Eugenio?
That depends a lot on the kind of system it is. If it's a group, for example, that is active within a hierarchically structured organization, it's not the same thing that if it's a group that is more networked. No, because in a hierarchically structured organization, there's always some instance above that has the formal right to decide what's right and what's wrong. While in a networked group, there's no such instance. So that's one of the first things you need to, I usually try to discern. Is there any instance that has the formal right to decide for the whole or not? That's one of the questions. Or if there's no one, is there an instance that without the formal right has the real power to do it? That's another question. No? And another thing is, who is my client? No? Who is paying my fees if I am an external consultant? No? So it depends. In a network, the only way to keep the network as a network and me getting paid is if there's somebody that wants to be a sponsor. And a sponsor in my mind is somebody that takes the risks by paying without trying to control. No? And there are not many of those around. No? Another way in the network is that everybody distributes the payment, no? But that doesn't happen so often either. So, in my experience, regrettably, is that in networks I need to work for free. It's a contradiction, no? Because the world is going more and more towards networks, and even big hierarchical organizations and companies are trying to find ways of working more networked, no? And at the same time, the contract needs to be in a very formal and hierarchical. And that's very interesting. In a couple of weeks, I will be speaking in a, I don't know what it is, a congress or something like that, about public purchasing in Spain. And if it's possible to improve the public purchasing, tenders and so on. And my thesis is that it's impossible within the current parameters. There's nothing you can do to improve it so that public sector can address the complexity of today's problem. It's impossible. Because there are three premises or beliefs in which the public purchasing is grounded. One is compartmentalization. You need to define the problem in order to address it. And that's not true when it's a complex problem. That's true when you need to just screw something. But the moment that it's complex, you cannot compartmentalize. No? The other one is the belief that what is not measurable doesn't exist. And in public purchasing, it's expressed in that you need to present what are the indicators before you start working. And that's psychotic, no? and the third belief is that you need to have a plan and that it should be scalable and repeatable. That's also psychotic. That can be true for very simple things and maybe complicated things, but in today's complexity, forget about it.
It's definitely a challenge. I know when I work with the large political organizations, European institutions, the purchasing mechanism, there needs to be a kind of an education on there, because they would like to just put a Band-Aid on certain problems by, okay, we're going to drag and drop you in there for a 2-day session. It's going to fix everything, without a proper discovery process, without really an intake that's done in a qualified way. And there's one of the purchasing issues is there's one group who's getting the service and there's one group who's paying for the service because they feel the other group needs fixing. So there's always,
it's worse than that, Jeffer. It's worse than that. There's one group that is paying, one group that will receive the service, and the third group that decides which is the best service.
Right, on top of it. Yeah, and that third group is usually the most in the dark. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a big part of our job, though, of educating our clients and our stakeholders on what is the best way to use these services, and it's not, I think there's confusion sometimes. It's just seen as like, it's like buying time management training, but that's not what we're selling. We're selling it's a longer process that over time that helps groups evolve to what they're trying to achieve.
Yes, but Jeff, I'm not sure that what you are selling and what Eugenio is selling is exactly the same thing.
No.
So I would try to dwell on, is there a common overall business goal that we all follow?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think in my previous chapter when I was at Deloitte and we were selling these large projects, months, millions of euros projects, these are, that's a little bit, you still have to have a tangible, you're going to invest that much money, you're going to want a tangible result. And then embedded in that is a technology implementation, but also some kind of, change management. How do you mobilize people? How do you get behaviors to shift? But often that's like was like an add-on. Basically what you're buying is an IT implementation, and you're getting this HR people change management stuff built into the program because we know it's integral. But on the buying side, it was very hard to it's very intangible still.
So. And Eugenio, is it the same thing? What you sell, that what a group facilitator sells, is it the same thing, or?
I have no clue. What I know is that for 20 years ago, I decided that I don't have a business idea. I have never been able to formulate a business idea. I understood that I don't that what I have is a vocation. It's a vocation to promote change wherever I go. No? And if somebody wants to pay for it, then I am happy. If not, I will do the same thing for free. Yeah. But because if the moment that earning money becomes a motivation, I stop being clean in the promoting the change I want to promote. And I decided that it's more important for me to be clean and to be able to be completely transparent towards my clients than to sell anything. Well, I remember just before the pandemic in March, I was in Spain speaking with the CEO, newly appointed CEO of a metal company. He wanted to do a change process, and it was only half an hour in the first interview that I told him, I don't think that we can work together. He said, why? I said, because you want me to have a plan and I can't have a plan. Why not? Everybody does it, yes, but I don't. I can speak with you about how to go about the change, and I can recommend you things to do, and I can do them, no? But if you want a plan that during 6 months, what are all the activities that we are going to do, then I can't work with you. So that's much more important for me to be able to do that than to sell anything.
Absolutely, Molini, and that's the genuine part in you that I love so much, and it's so inspiring also for my work, my friend. But let's focus a little bit on the FacWeek. Jeffer, can you expand a little bit? What was the idea beyond FacWeek this year? Because that's also something that people should be curious about.
Right. I mean, we actually pick up in FactWeek on many different issues, including representation. So there's a whole theme of, let's back up. There's 216 workshops happening over the next 7 days, right? So, and it's still not too late to add. If you want to add your workshop, you can still add more. So it's factweek.org is the place to do that. You can submit a workshop, you can follow a workshop. There's about 20 featured workshops. These are kind of some of the gurus in our market, people like Roger Schwartz and the Liberating Structures team. They're doing some programs that I think are going to be very kind of compelling and hot to trot. But then there's a lot of hidden gems in there too. And in the representation theme, I know there's one on tracking diversity awareness, and how does that, what progress are we making in terms of hearing all the voices and bringing people in? That's one I'm looking forward to. There's another one on closing the gap of disadvantage with Carol Sharif. I think that's going to be really fascinating. So there's a wide variety. So we've got kind of like social inclusion pieces, but we've also got pieces on like how do you run a facilitation business. Trevor Durnford is doing one on becoming a client magnet with his life partner, Malin. So all things facilitation, 200 workshops in a week. I don't know what your saturation level is, how many you can go to, but at least a few are going to be great.
And so many different languages, Jeffer. Have you realized that?
Yeah, exactly. I think especially in our European team, I think there's over 100 programs from across Europe in 10 different languages. So if you want to do a program in French, you've got them there, or Spanish and Portuguese. So it's big groups, but also we have more and more like the use of facilitation is expanding, and it's interesting where it's coming from. I know the last event on the whole sequence will be the Facilitation Impact Awards. That's the one I'm hosting with a wide team. And who gets the awards this year is really interesting because it's governmental bodies in Russia in India, in Turkey. It's not like, it's, of course there's facilitation everywhere and there's representation everywhere, but you know, from outside you might say, well, of course in Sweden we have representation, you know, but it's actually every corner of the world. And I think that's what's interesting, is to see the variations and the universality across the groups. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. And Eugenio, can you expand a little bit? What will you be offering in your own event on this FacWeek? It happens to be in FacWeek by chance, right? Eugenio?
Excuse me, I was muted.
You're muted.
Yeah, I am here just because you, Paul, saw this workshop and said, well, why don't you put it in so I put it in the program just 5 days ago, no? And the workshop is motivated by I see that there's too many colleagues that are overwhelmed by what's going on in the world, no? And I see that most of us are reacting in similar ways, no? Either by withdrawing inwards. I see many withdrawing inwards and taking care of their families and their homes and their things, and without being outside in the world, no? They have just withdrawn to whatever they do, taking care of their petunias maybe. And others go into self-doubt and self-punishment. I am worthless, my services are old, I cannot innovate, I don't know how to go, etc., etc. No, it's punishing yourself and doubting about yourself, and so I do that. I also withdraw inwards. No, others go into attacking others. That it can be, I am speaking now about myself, I can go into envy and resentment towards more successful colleagues, and see that guy Paul that is doing all this and I am not doing anything, just a workshop, and this Jeffer that is in the board and blah blah blah. So comparing myself, and instead of doubting myself, I am all the time putting shit out there, no? Or I may be also saying these politicians or Trump or whatever, no? Attacking outwards. And others that are going into, and I do that too, into meaningless activity. Just accelerate our presence in there's so much noise in social media. And I am one of those that are adding to the noise, no? It looks like sometimes like a school dining room, no, or no, where all the children are and in order to get heard, or when we facilitate meetings and there's dull-lit acoustics in the room, no, and everybody is speaking higher and higher to be heard, and then no matter what you say, it doesn't help. So that's what social media is now mostly, no? So we either do one of these 4 things, and I am seeing myself doing that. So I decided, when we become overwhelmed, we go into survival mode. And we tend to use these 4 strategies. And the only, well, not the only way, but one of the ways of allowing something new to emerge in our field is to have conversations about how we take care of ourselves, how we take care of each other, and how we take care of the whole, whatever the whole is. It can be different in different. There's another way of promoting some kind of stability, and it's just by doing imposing a very hard intervention. No, see, this is truth, and this is so. But if we take that away, then yeah, we need to have conversations about how we, and really open and heartfelt conversations about how we are dealing with this. Because only by that way we can go from survival to recovery. only by having this kind of conversation. So I am inviting people to have a structured conversation about how we are coping with this pandemic.
Fantastic. So this will be Friday, and this is an amazing event. Jeffrey, would you like to also highlight any particular event, because you were talking about a few of them there?
Yeah, I mean the ones I'm excited about. Well, first, could I just comment on what Eugenio said? Because I think, I mean, you know, with those like 4 options of, you know, denial, attack, depression, I feel like I'm on like letter E, you know, like all of the above, you know, all of these reactions, right? And it's like in 1 hour or 1 day, and it's bloody difficult right now. I mean, I am, you know, one day you're having a successful business, and then your whole rug is pulled out from underneath you, and everything is upside down, and there's money issues. There's, you know, in our own household, my partner and I, we do the same job. So like, but she's like a digital guru, so her business is booming and mine's kind of suffering. You know? So it puts all kinds of pressure on all of us and our clients too. You know, like the kind of, mostly I work with like senior leaders. They also reacting in all these strange ways because they're under huge pressure. So it's not easy. So yeah, having a forum, a FacWeek, and there's others, is a forum to discuss all that. And you know, that comes back a little bit to the bias. Like as a group facilitator, I think like when there's an issue, we should all talk about it. But you know, like I also think like we should talk to a therapist or stroke your cat, or you know, have a little meditation time too. Anyway, coming back to FacWeek. One of the, just I guess building on this, like we always having choices of which tools and techniques we might put in for a number group. And there's going to be a few sessions this week on the methods library. So this is, you know, the whole platform of FactWeek is built on Session Lab, where you have kind of 50 different methods and tools and techniques that are free. But for the IAF members, there are another 450 techniques. So a technique is something like World Cafe or Open Space, or you know, all different types of ways of building consensus or dialogue. And it's a beautiful resource. So I'm looking forward to that because, yeah, I'm quite putting into question, like, am I just leaning on the same crutch? I have my top 10 things I do often, but maybe I should dip into the other 450 possible ways of working. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the Roger Schwartz session. We produced
that one is featured.
It is, yeah. So
about unfeatured sessions.
Unfeatured. But I think the one I mentioned before on tracking diversity and awareness, I think looks like it'll be, that's with Patricia Nunes. Harmony Works is her business. Yeah, that's it, with the hands around the world. I think, I mean, touching on Black Lives Matter, you know, everything that's happening right now with voting and the, you know, and I saw it with Simon Sinek was being interviewed last week by Richard Branson, and he asked, you know, like, if you were starting a business now, what business would you start? And Simon's answer was, you know, basically about building bridges and getting different divided populations to talk to each other. I mean, I think this is the topic of society right now. We are so much in isolation, and yet we have these ideals of all working together, yet our political structures are, you know, as divided as ever. And I think, you know, people with a kind of an impulse for bringing people together and bringing into dialogue and making systems, you know, having a systemic approach to getting people together are the right people of the moment. However, so many of us are kind of spinning our wheels. It's like, oh my God, I'm not exactly sure how to, you know, like, how do we go about this? So anyway, so that's one session I'm looking forward to.
Okay, that's fantastic. I also would like to highlight this an interesting session also on Saturday. It will start Friday evening. It's the World Relay by X3060 Connected Conversations, a partnership with the IAF. And it's going to be interesting because it's going to be a round the world conversation celebrating the UN 75th anniversary day, which is on the 24th of October. So it's an epic coincidence that within the FacWeek, we have the UN 75th anniversary, and we are going to host with X3060 this world relay conversations, where we have 75 cities connected throughout all our planet in around the world, around the clock meeting, starting in the evening of the 23rd of October. So that's also going to be a very interesting session, among other sessions. But my friends, we are 3 minutes before the end of the time now. So perhaps we would wrap up the conversation as we have the rest of our Sunday to enjoy ourselves, right? So any final comments from Eugenio and Jeffer for FacWeek, or for whatever you like to talk about in these last few minutes of our live stream?
Thank you. I can only thank you for the opportunity.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you both. And Eugenio, always giving me something to think about. I still remember the big U that you drew in on a flip chart 3 years ago. It's still sitting with me as where am I on this cycle? Yeah, you make a difference for people like us.
You do.
I'm basically,
I will believe it.
I think that's one of those responses you mentioned, right? Our own discrediting ourselves, but it doesn't do anyone any good, especially not ourselves. I'm mostly excited about the awards. I mean, I'm totally biased on this one because I'm one of the hosts, but we're actually opening the platform on HowSpace. It's probably on Monday or Tuesday, where you can see all 19 organizations, over 70 different facilitative leaders who've been involved, their case studies and the difference they make. Some of them are very kind of have absolutely to do with what's happening right now, whether it's rebounding the economy or rethinking how we collaborate these days. So I'm looking forward to that one. And I think it's inspiring. I mean, I don't know. I'm going for where the inspiration is because I need a little bit more hope at the moment.
Definitely. And also would like to pay tribute to Jeffer London, my dear friend and board colleague at the IF, because most of the FacWeek thinking was done with him, and this idea of opening up our FacWeek to the world, like a facilitation celebration week for all collectives in the world that would like to join us. It's been really a pleasure to work with you in this project, Jeffer. And thank you so much for the dedication and so many hours you have dedicated to make this a reality. Thank you so much. And Eugenio, thank you also so much for joining this conversation, the Sunday brunch conversation. And I will see you both on FacWeek next week. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.